Okay, so today, guys, we'll be looking at how to graph quadratic functions. So to graph a quadratic function, we need four things, and the first one is the axis of symmetry. The next one is the y-coordinate of the vertex, then the y-intercept, and then fourth is the x-intercept. So just as a quick reminder, we know that the axis of symmetry is that axis that splits our quadratic into equal halves. That's the axis of symmetry. The y-coordinate of the vertex. Now the vertex is the turning point. So this is the vertex, and we can use the axis of symmetry and the y-coordinate to get that point there. The next thing we want to look at is the y-intercept. We all know what that is. That's the y-intercept. And finally, the x-intercept. So we intercept at 2 points. I'm just going to change to green, and that one of them is here, and the other one is here. So those are the four things we need to know, and we're going to look at how to work those out. So I'm going to give you a couple of rules and formula to work these things out. So let's skip to that now. So the first one is the axis of symmetry. Now we're going to presume we have an equation, a quadratic, in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so wherever you see an a, b, and a c, that's from this equation here. So firstly, the axis of symmetry, that's the x value. So if we go back, that's this thing down here. So we're going to get some x value, and that's going to be negative b over a. Where that b comes from is from our quadratic equation. It's negative that one divided by 2 times a. Okay, so that x coordinate that we've just calculated is going to be this one here. So that x value that our axis of symmetry goes through. The next one we would like to work out is the y-coordinate of the vertex. Now, the reason we only want to work out the y-coordinate is because you can see this x-coordinate that we've just worked out is the same as the x-coordinate down here. So if we work out the y-coordinate, then we will have the point of that vertex, or the turning point. Now, the way we do that is we use our x that we've found here, and we put it back into our equation. So wherever you see x, you put our x back in. So like I've said, substitute into this equation, and it'll spit out our y value, the y-coordinate of this vertex down here. The next point we want is the y-intercept, where we're cutting that y-axis. So if I extended my graph, eventually it would touch that y-axis somewhere up here. Okay, you can see it touches there. Now, this is the easiest one to work out. So I've just written c down here. That's because it's just this value here. So whatever that c value is, that's our y-intercept. So the last thing we want to find out is our x-intercepts, and those are also known as our roots. Okay, so that's this value here and this value here. Sometimes we could have a quadratic that just touches once, or one that doesn't touch at all. Okay, and that's fine. We can still graph that. But the way we find them is we solve the quadratic equation when it's equal to 0. Now we could use the quadratic formula or factorization, solving the square. We can use all of our different techniques that we've been looking at to find those points. So let's have a look at an example now. Example, for the quadratic y equals 2x squared plus 8x minus 10, find the axis of symmetry. Now, if we remember from our previous slide, the axis of symmetry is going to be minus b over 2a. So, part A, x equals minus b over 2a. Our b value is 8. So x equals minus 8 divided by 2 times by our a value, which is 2. 2 times 2 is 4, so we get minus 8 over 4. If you put that in your calculator or you just simplify, you get minus 2. So our axis of symmetry is minus 2. All right, so that's part A done. And the next part we want to find out is the coordinates of the vertex. So actually this minus 2 is our x-coordinate. And let's just open up a new page. If I want to find out my y-coordinate, I have to substitute into this equation, x equals minus 2. So I'm going to write y equals 2, that's this one here, times by minus 2 squared plus 8 times by minus 2 minus 10. Now I'm left with 2, minus 2 squared is 4, so 2 times 4 plus 8 times by minus 2 is minus 16 minus 10. Okay, these two are going to make minus 26, and 2 times 4 is 8, so 8 minus 26 equals minus 18. Okay, and that's the y value. The x value was minus 2, so our coordinate for the vertex is minus 2 minus 18. So we've completed that, that's the vertex, and the next thing we want to find out is the axes intercepts. So again, let's clear that page. So the axes intercepts, we know that there's a y and an x-intercept. The y-intercept, that equals c, the c value, which is right here. So therefore, let's just call that y equals negative 10. That's the y-intercept. Now the x-intercept is a little bit more difficult, but we've been doing these in class. So what we have to do is take our quadratic. So let me just split this in half. 2x squared plus 8x minus 10. And we have to set it equal to 0. Now the first thing I'm going to do here is notice that there's a common factor of 2 in each of these terms a, b, and c. So I'm going to remove 2, and I'm left with x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. What I want to do now is I want to factorize this inner term here. And if I do that, I'll keep my 2 out the front for now. You can get rid of it, but I'll just keep it. You're left with x. Now I have to multiply to get minus 5 and add to get 4. The only way I can do that is if I add 5 and I times by negative 1. Okay. If you don't remember how to do that, you can go back and look at one of the previous videos. But that's correct for now, and therefore, if this is true, if these equal 0, our x has to equal negative 5, or x equals positive 1. Alright, so now that we've collected all that data, we can have a go at graphing that. What I've done here is just put on the left-hand side what we calculated. So A is here, it's negative 2. That's the axis of symmetry. So if we go to negative 2, that's this point here. Everything on either side of this line is going to be symmetrical. Now we also know that on that line, the vertex is going to occur. So that's going to happen at negative 2, so somewhere along this line, and negative 18. So we're going up by 5 every 2, so negative 18 will be about here. All right, and that's going to be our vertex. The next point we have to know is the y-intercept, which is minus 10. Okay. We also know it's symmetrical about around this point. So if we go 2 from there, if we go 2 the other way, we know there has to be a point there. That's what the axis of symmetry means. And if we go and find our intercepts on the x-axis, it's minus 5 and plus 1. So plus 1, minus 5. And we can connect these points here to create our quadratic. Whoa. And you can obviously do a better job of sketching that, but that's how we plot our quadratic using these 3 steps. Okay, thank you.